with G. Scott.
Now, I know a lot of the interviews you see are a lot about football, no doubt about it. But this is more than just football. This one, for me, is actually personal. I've known this guy for 22 years, to be exact. I never forget the first time he let me clean his white Hummer over there in Kirkland at the practice facility. And look, man, he was more than just a leader on the football field. He's just one of the most selfless players and human beings that I've ever met. And he joins us right now. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's a legend with the Seahawks. And of course, he's top 50. Matt Hasselbeck.
What's up, man? How are you?
Good, man.
You outed me with the white Hummer, the H2.
You remember
I
that?
got a lot of heat for that. Like, I bought that car out in Cheney, Washington. We had 3 kids in car seats at the same time.
Right.
You know, like between booster seat, rear facing, and forward facing.
Uh-huh.
Parents, I hope, understand. So, like, your choices are limited. It's like a minivan, which I was really not into. And I was out in Eastern Washington, Cheney, and this car dealer out there was like, oh, come test drive the Hummer. And I come home with it. My wife was like, what the heck? But I got a lot of like hate for driving an SUV at the time. Like, I was driving in Seattle and people were giving me like the middle finger on the highway. And I'm like, why are you giving me the middle finger? Like, I didn't cut you off. I didn't, whatever.
Right.
Then I saw a report on the news that people were like keying cars of people, like they were upset that people were driving like a big SUV. And so I'm still like a little gun shy about admitting that I had a Hummer,
Oh, my bad. I should have told people.
It's a great car. The negative on it was like you can't drive very fast on the highway.
Right.
Because like the windshield was like this and you had to stop like seriously like felt like every 30 miles to wash your windshield. The dead bugs, but...
Well, I'm going to come back to that story a little later, man, because that was a big time for me. That was a big deal for me, if you will. But I want to just... Matt, when your name comes up here in Seattle, of course, you'll have never admit it, so let me brag for you. When your name comes up in Seattle, there's always a smile that comes to people's face, whether you're a fan, 12, whether you work in the building there at the Virginia Mesa Athletic Center, just in general.
Or laughing at me, like, oh, remember when he did that stupid thing?
I wasn't going to bring up Green Bay or nothing like that.
No, the funny thing is, it's not just Green Bay. There's many, many, many things. Oh, my gosh. Remember that? Remember that? It's embarrassing.
But when you first got to Seattle,
yeah,
could you have ever imagined that this place would be the place that loves you most, that it would turn out to be this way?
Yeah, in fact, I did imagine it that way. I thought it would just be smooth sailing. And life isn't like that. It was hard. Like it stunk. Like we were so excited. We got pregnant with our first child. We were so fired up. Like that was hard. Uh-huh. Like everything about our first experience here, our first year here was difficult. Like I had in my head expectations of like what it was going to be like. And, I think the team kind of fed into that a little bit because, they were trying to market, hey, we got a new quarterback. This is the final piece, like, that kind of talk. And, I just wasn't, and I wasn't ready, and I needed to mature as a player. I needed to mature as a husband, as a parent. Like I'd never done any of these things. And so, yeah, it was hard. I got booed out of Husky Stadium. I got hurt. Parenting was very difficult. Our closest relative, I think, was in like Chicago. Yeah. I remember having our first child up at the hospital up at I guess it was like Juanita or North Kirkland area. And they were like, all right, you can go home. And I remember being like, no, we can't. Like, I don't know how to do this. Like, we don't know what we're doing. In-season baby. It was tough. Yeah. It was tough. But I think when you have these moments like yesterday or Ring of Honor, or look, whatever they are, it means so much more because it wasn't going well. Mm-hmm. Like it really, really, really wasn't going well. And like I didn't see light at the end of the tunnel many times, many like whatever sleepless nights or getting benched or getting hurt, like or whatever. So it almost means more because of that journey in a way, if that makes any sense.
Did getting benched help you sit down and just reflect and look in the mirror and start to take accountability for things?
It all helped me a little bit. Like it helped me, but it's like the lessons you don't want to learn. You'd rather learn it a different way. For sure. Like a quick example of like what I learned when I got benched, like Mike Holmgren and I used to like just battle.
Really?
Yeah. Like he would yell at me, I would do what I thought was the right thing. He would yell at me in a way like, whatever. He'd say something and I'd fire back like, well, that's the rule or something. Well, then I get benched and I see Trent Dilfer, a veteran quarterback who has a Super Bowl ring and all this stuff. And he would yell the exact same thing to Trent Dilfer, and Trent with a smile on his face would somehow hear the constructive criticism behind the verbal beatdown. And he'd be like, got it. Got you, coach. Yes, sir. And I'd fire back with like, what are you talking about? This is the rule, safety's at 8.5, some stupid thing.
Right.
And Trent would be like, cool, got it. You don't want to audible in that situation. No sweat, man. And I just on the bench was like, all right, well, I guess I could do that, but it needed, like that's a small example of something that I wouldn't have learned from being in there. And I wouldn't have learned it had there not been like a veteran quarterback who was confident enough to handle a coach like that.
Sure. The other day, this weekend, huge moment, top 50 Seahawks being honored. You were one of them as well. You got to come back and you spoke to the fans out there on the field. But you got to be amongst, people, your some of your teammates, other players in other decades. You got to be around that. What's some of the most memorable conversations? Give us a conversation that you had with one of your teammates or somebody you just met.
You know what? I think for me, one of the things I didn't think was going to hit me was having a conversation with guys like Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas, guys that were really, really young when I started here. Mm-hmm. Even Richard Sherman, who like we came in sort of like during the lockout together. We were never teammates, but I remember like he was at Stanford and he was trying to, I think, rent a townhouse that I had rented to Justin Forsett, like come up in there and live and work out and whatever. And like, but just some of those relationships with young guys. I'd been through the fire way more with like the Max Strongs, Sean Alexander, Walter Jones, Robbie Tobeck, Lofa Tatupu, Chris Gray, like those kind of guys. But I just had that 1 year with Cam and Earl, maybe 2 years with Mebane. And I don't know, like it was just awesome to see them as such leaders and grown up. And like, it was just cool. Mm-hmm. I think that was probably and even just to see them with some of their other teammates. And I'd put Marshawn in that crowd too, because Marshawn has, really been impressive compared to like where he was in October when we traded for him in 2010 to who he is now. Just awesome.
Yeah.
But just to see how they were with some of their teammates, Michael Bennett, I would put on that group. Like they all just kind of come back to you. And, it's just really neat. Like I'm proud to have worn this uniform and this jersey and this emblem and all that stuff, but I'm proud of the guys that came before and after too. It's a solid. You don't get to choose your team usually.
Now, when did you know you were going to be speaking at halftime? Because you killed that, man. You did great. When did you know? And how do you decide what to say in that amount of time? Because I know you have a lot to say. So sometimes it's harder to say very little, but you still want to make that impact.
I got an email from Mario Bailey and 3 other people. And they said, hey, we're asking you, would you be willing to talk at halftime? 1 minute, 45 seconds. Whoa. Which is tough, right?
Tough.
So I was like, sure. And then I said, sure was like a bad way to respond, And then I said, hey, I'm honored. Thank you. Mm-hmm. But listen, if someone else wants to do it, they can have it, kind of, I just think like I kicked around like a little bit of like what you'd want to say, because you don't want to leave anybody out, and you certainly want to honor the guys that came before. But I think what I landed on for me is that there's 50 of us here, like being represented, but it never felt like that on our teams.
Sure.
It was maybe with the exception of maybe like Walter Jones, who was kind of like, all right, you're Walt, you don't have to come to training camp. You don't have to, but mostly it was like, hey, I'm going to do my job. You do your job. And like, we're all in this together.
Right.
It's like parts of a body, you like we're different, like, but you would never want like 11 of me. You wouldn't even want 11 Walter Joneses, right. And you don't want 11 Tobecks. You don't want 11 Max Strongs. But we need a Tobeck and we need a Max Strong, mm-hmm. and we need a Bobby Ingram, and we need it. Like you need it. It's like parts of a body. Right. So like, I don't know. I just thought it was really important to honor the guys that maybe weren't there because we couldn't have done it. And if I had had more time, I would have mentioned, I said there's 11 on the field at a time, like never just by ourselves. And then when you're sitting there on the bench and you're looking at the pictures, you're basically like, come on, defense, or bail us out, special teams, or like something like that. You're counting on those 11. Mm-hmm. But I would go even further. I would say Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in practice, there's 11 guys on scout team or whatever they call it now, the ready team.
Yeah.
Practice squad guys who like their whole week is they're like, hey, I'm Ed Reed this week. I'm Troy Polamalu this week. I'm Sean Taylor this week. I'm giving these guys a look so that they can go out and play well on Sunday.
Right.
And I'm grateful for that. Our scout team guys took a lot of pride, both sides of the ball, in getting us ready to play and helping us be the best players that they could be, that we could be. So,
was there ever a time on a scout team that somebody maybe intercepted you and you probably
no,
didn't happen?
Never.
Speaking
in all seriousness, the way we practiced was different. Mike Holmgren would script for success.
Okay.
So he would never have the defense in a coverage or a blitz that he wouldn't have hoped that we called in the game. So he had a rule. He was like, the ball is not allowed to touch the ground in practice ever.
Oh, wow.
Ever. Like, I don't care. It's not touching the ground. Now, like, they weren't going to have a stun on when we had a screen on. They weren't going to be in cover two and we're throwing comebacks. Like, he would script for success, but like, no, it was, and that was a little bit of the challenge, like in games early on, is like when we would get the wrong coverage,
right? It's
kind of my job to kind of not make a bad situation worse. And I would try to fix it all at once. And finally I realized that he was totally cool with 2nd and 5, totally good with it. Like if I gave him 2nd and 5, he's like, I'm good.
Sure. You know what? I'm glad you segue into practice squad. I just found out something through you, by the way. You started out when you were in Green Bay at one point, you were on the practice squad as a tight end.
Yeah.
What tell us how did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, the quick version of it is I was trying to, drafted to the Packers.
Yeah.
Made the team, didn't make the team because they signed another quarterback. Now I'm the 4th quarterback. And Andy Reid really wanted to keep me. He was the quarterback's coach. There wasn't room for me. And so he came to me and said, he goes, hey, listen, if we signed you to the practice squad, could you play tight end in practice? And I was like, heck yeah, dude. I'll play nose guard in practice, whatever. And so I went to quarterback meetings, but in practice every day, I played scout team tight end.
And then who was lining up?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it was Reggie White. It was Santana Dotson. It was Leroy Butler. It was, but my goal was just to not screw up practice.
Okay.
And like Reggie was amazing. Like Reggie wouldn't even wear cleats to practice. He'd just be like, hey, brother, just hold on to me for 1,000 and then I'll let you go. But the coaches were just like, just stay on your feet. We don't want you to get anybody hurt.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care if you get hurt, but we don't want you to get anybody else hurt.
Love that.
And it was great. It was awesome for me. Brett Favre was the starting quarterback. Doug Peterson was the backup quarterback. Rick Meyer was the 3rd string quarterback. And that's when I started hearing a lot about Seattle, actually, because he would always talk about Seattle, always. Right. And and it was a great opportunity for me to learn.
Love that. Let's go to 2005, in a season in which you took an incredible team during that time, incredible offense. Shout out to the defense as well, all those guys. Take us back to that time as far as like, what did that time mean and what was it really like? There's some people that's listening right now, some probably might not even been born during that time. What was it like here during that time?
Well, it was nothing special about the start of the year. Nothing. Like, it wasn't like, this is our year. It wasn't that. The year before in 2004, people were, like trying to like buy low, sell high, kind of like pick the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl, but it was kind of a garbage pick. It was just like being different to be different.
Right.
And we failed. So 2003 is we want the ball, we're going to score. I throw an interception on the last play of the game, wild card, we lose. 2004, we win the division, but we lose to the Rams 3 times that year. The last time on the last play of the game, wild card, throw a pass too hot in the end zone, we're not able to catch it, and last play of the game. And so I think people had this perception of us, and we had to look in the mirror. And our saying that year was like, hey, if you do what you've always done, you'll be what you've always been. And so we kind of sacrificed a little bit on talent that next year for guys that we could just count on. You know, maybe guys that weren't as fast, but they were maybe more sure-handed. Maybe guys that didn't have as much upside or potential, but you knew that you could count on them. And maybe they could be better in the block, you know, run blocking as a wide receiver, pass blocking as a running back, different things like that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it just clicked. You know, like there was more competition. Nothing was like, everything was kind of earned. And, no, it didn't start out great. We go down to Jacksonville week 1, get spanked. Oh, but after that, we were no doubt the best team in football, AFC, NFC. We had a great year, and it's unfortunate because we didn't finish the job in the Super Bowl, sure. And so we weren't able to hoist the Lombardi. So that's tough. But no, it was we had no idea.
Now I've heard you comment and talk about the Super Bowl, and because I've heard you talk about it, you've actually changed the way I discuss the Super Bowl. Because me and a lot of folks that's watching right now, I'm sure, oh, you got cheated. They're cheated the Super Bowl. The referees are cheated. And then I remember one time I heard you say, well, we also didn't play well in that game.
Well enough.
Yeah. Right. And so that right there, is that how you remember that game?
Well, I think it's how I'm choosing to remember the game. You know, a lot of games it's like, well, if this never happened, that never would have happened. Mm-hmm. You know, I really think that, had Darrell Jackson not gotten called for the push-off on the first drive touchdown, yes. That would have changed everything. But he did. Mm-hmm. You know, do I agree with the call? No. But am I going to sit here and complain about it? No. Those guys are human, just like we're human. You know, there's things that we do. If I could complain about anything, mm-hmm. I think it's really foolish how the NFL does their refereeing for Super Bowls, because what they do is it's like a reward, like an all-star game, mm-hmm. for whatever official, side judge, back judge, umpire, referee, white hat, whatever, whoever grades out the best, you get to work the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Well, you tell me what business or what team works better when you don't work with the people you know and you have chemistry with. Like, even just putting this podcast on, if you grab 4 random people from other podcasting worlds and you work together, you don't work as well together.
Right.
You know, I played in Pro Bowls, and I would much rather throw to DJ Hackett and Darrell Jackson and Bobby Ingram than Santana Moss and, name the guys. I don't want to offend anybody, but I don't know them.
Right.
I don't have a whatever. Right. I remember signaling Torrey Holt a slant in a Pro Bowl, and he was like, what is that? So I just think there's something about teamwork and working together. So anyway, it's a little sidebar because I don't usually complain about it, but I think it's just to take a little bit of pressure off those officials, because they don't like it either. They would rather work with their team. So, but for us, control what you can control. We could have played better, and we didn't play to our best. I think we wanted it too much. I think we tried too hard. I think we pressed. And I wish we hadn't. I really do.
Matt, you always been this way. That's what I'm talking about.
No,
look, man. Listen.
No.
You're selfless. You always want to include everyone. You talk to yourself. You know how to, every time there's always going to be a positive spin on it. Tell me when this Matt right here that I've always known of, when did you become this way? Because you talked about how when you first got out here, you were this young and didn't get it and all this stuff. When did things change? Because every time, even when you do your speech on the field, you're talking about the past, the current, you always know how to include people. Is that Matt, or is that the quarterback?
Listen, I think it's just I'm a work in progress always, even now. My parents were awesome. I grew up, my dad played in the NFL. He coached me. The life lessons that I got growing up were great. And they were faith-based, put others first. But I think for me, what I struggled with, I know I struggled with this in college, is how are you this tough, hard-nosed, I'm going to kick your ass on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. And yet this person who's this Christian, looking out for others. Like, I didn't want to be soft, and then I wasn't tough enough to be really a hard, like kind of be like, so like I struggled with that balance. And I think it was when I got to Green Bay, actually, that I really saw it modeled, ironically, since you brought it up, in Reggie White. Reggie White was the best defensive football player in the world. And he would knock you on your back and help you up. I mean, he just was like, he took an interest in me, a practice squad quarterback / tight end, like that he didn't have to take. And yet he was the most dominant player that the franchise had ever seen, and that maybe other franchises had ever seen. And I just think it was guys like him and others that modeled it. Excellence on and off the field, in their families, in their marriages, like all of it. And it just was like, I don't know, I probably had that at home with my dad, but like, this is my dad. So it was just like, it was kind of maybe like a know-it-all. And I know it started there with Reggie, but I was not a finished product. And it was a process of growing. I would credit Jim Zorn. I would credit Trent Dilfer. I would credit Brock Heward. Trent and Brock were backing me up and like mentoring me and leading me, like in a way. Like Brock had just lost his job to me and Trent, really. And hometown kid, all of it, probably wanted it worse than we wanted it. Mm-hmm. And he supported us. Like there was all these different things to becoming a better teammate, to becoming a better leader. Mm-hmm. And I think like you mentioned losing your job. I don't know, like you develop like this mental toughness. Like I think the way that I would maybe describe it is like, I think I learned how to be a general and not like a politician. You know what I mean? Like there was something just like more authentic about who I became as a teammate and as a leader. Instead of like this phony-ish kind of say what I think I'm supposed to say, act the way I think I'm supposed to act.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think possibly.
You just brought up your father. How you doing, man?
Doing okay.
You lost.
Yeah, my dad passed away suddenly in April. I shouldn't say okay. We're doing great. We miss him. There's things like I've reached for my phone. Anybody who's lost a parent or a close friend or anybody, like you reach for your phone, who knows how many times, to tell them or call them or ask them. But he was an amazing influence on us, and in a lot of different ways, work ethic and all of it, just creatively pushing us to be better. And I'm proud of him. So I'm proud of who he was and where he came from and what he did with us. And, he and my mom had me when they were like 18, 19 in Boulder, Colorado. And I'm sure like if you were taking bets on like which kid would turn out okay, I don't think people were placing a lot of bets on me at the time.
Okay.
So I'm really appreciative to the job that my parents did. And yeah.
Did you get a chance to now? Because you guys were you're coaching with your brother, high school football. Mm-hmm. Did you get a chance to coach with your dad?
Yeah. So this is kind of a crazy thing. So I'm working at ESPN after I'm done playing, and kind of a dream job. It's like not a hard job and kind of fun. You're in it. You're not getting tackled. It's kind of fun. And I get laid off by ESPN. It's probably 4 years now, and so it was kind of like disappointing, but it was such a blessing. Like it was such a blessing. It was like the answer to a prayer I'd never really prayed, but should have. My son's in high school, and essentially I traded in like a dream job for more family time.
Okay.
Something I wouldn't have had the courage to do on my own, but the decision was made for me. So I coach at my high school. The head coach that's there, he was coaching when I was there. Coach at my high school, coach my son. I'm the quarterback's coach. My dad's the tight ends coach. It was awesome. And we did that for 2 years, and it worked out great. My son at the time was committed to play lacrosse in college. He ends up, I get to coach him, spend some time with him. We end up winning the state championship. He ends up being Gatorade Player of the Year. He goes on to play college football now. Did it with my dad. The Super Bowl game, state championship game was at Gillette, where my dad played.
Yeah.
Where I probably never won a game. And now all of a sudden, my son has won a game. It was just really neat. It was cool. We loved it so much that I had a 2-year non-compete with ESPN, couldn't do anything in the media. And I chose when the 2 years was over, I said, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this. Moved to Nashville. My brother's a head coach there, coaching my nephew with my dad, 2 of my nephews, really. It was really neat and a huge blessing, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
You're an amazing father, Matt. And of course, I know your daughter, Abigail, you know, she's awesome. What is it that you find yourself taking from your dad that you can see when you're talking to your kids?
I think maybe one of the things is creativity. You know, like my dad, you know, I played tight end growing up. I wanted to be like him. I never played quarterback. I got moved to quarterback in high school, probably because I was too skinny to block anybody.
Okay.
And so I remember driving home from a game, like in 8th grade maybe, and my dad's driving a station wagon, and, you know, I remember it vividly. And he was like 6'8". He didn't fit in many other cars. And I dropped this pass. As a corner route, dropped the pass. And instead of him, like, he was just like, oh, it was a great route on that corner route. That would have been an amazing catch. And like, that's how he said it, you know? And I just remember being like, oh, I don't want to have this car ride ever again, where we would have made the play. You know, he didn't say, oh, you should have made the catch, or he didn't say it touched your hands. He didn't say that. He's just like, oh, that would have been an amazing catch. Just kind of like that, you know? And kind of reminded me about like, you know, like if I was supposed to take the trash out, he wouldn't say anything if I didn't do it. He would just take the trash out. And it almost like hurt worse. It was just like, I should have done that. Like if I would have done that, he wouldn't have had to have done that. And I think it was like a little bit of that style, just getting a little bit creative as a parent.
Yeah.
But when your kids are in sports, it's like you're intense about it. They're intense about it. And there's like, you almost got to like check yourself and get your mind right before that car ride home. And I think that's probably one of the things I learned from my dad.
Well, let's be clear. Your daughters are really good at sports too, right? And so maybe some of that creativity in parenting helped with them as well.
I would think it did, because we were really intentional about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know how it is. Like kids you don't play elite sports or travel sports even without a huge sacrifice from parents now. Yeah. And it takes everybody. And yeah, it's hard. And you know, but I think it's worth it. Yeah. The life lessons are worth it. And you know, I'm a big believer in playing as many sports as you can. And I'm glad we did it that way with our kids.
I got a few football questions for you. If I were to ask you the defense and or the defensive coordinator that kept you awake the most at night when you would get ready to face that scheme or that defense or that coordinator, who would you give that credit to?
It was a frustrating one. Lovie Smith and the Bears, or really anybody in the Bears, because it wasn't always Lovie. You know, they were running the Tony Dungy defense, but like they didn't do anything we didn't know they were going to do.
Okay,
like, we knew what they were doing, but like they just did it so well. And so like I think one of my, I don't know what you call it, like strengths was figuring you out. But like they weren't hiding who they were. They're like, yeah, this is us. We're just going to do it better. Mm-hmm. You know, so like that was not that we didn't play well against them. Sometimes we did, but like that was a tough one. I would much rather, and I had much better games against like a Ray Lewis, Baltimore Ravens, Rex Ryan defense.
Why is that?
Or a Sean Taylor or a Troy Polamalu, because like I think you could figure them out.
Okay.
You know, and like you knew what they were. Like they were unbelievable at something. Mm-hmm. You know, like some of that, and you could kind of use it to your advantage a little bit. But no, the Bears, man. And ironically, that Bears defense, that was the Rams defense when they had the greatest show on turf. So it was a little bit of like you might have a big play, but it's not going to be that big of a play, kind of a defense. Yeah, it's frustrating.
Hardest hit you ever took?
I tell people Michael Strahan, because he like separated my AC joint and my AC joint and my SC joint, kind of gave me a floating clavicle. But it's not really true. The true story is I think it was Bill Romanowski, but I'm not exactly sure. I just remember I'm playing in a preseason game. I started the game for the Packers, and I get hit so hard. My helmet comes off, and I'm trying to be like Brett Favre. And this is when I was still a work in progress. And I yelled at this dude. I was like, 94. I get up, I can barely see straight. I'm like, 94, is that as hard as you can hit? And he's laughing at me, and he's like, bro, I didn't even hit you. 53 hit you. I was like, meanwhile, I'm like, Amon Green comes over with my helmet. He's like, here's your helmet. I'm like, wait, what? What just happened? So, yeah. So I'm not actually positive about what happened on that play, but something like that.
Best trash talker ever.
It's not even close. Not even close in any sport. John Randall. John Randall was just amazing.
What made him good at it?
And that's why he was like so awesome to be a teammate of.
Okay.
Like even though like we want the ball, we want to score, like I don't think that ever happens. Like I'm talking smack at the time to their kicker, Ryan Longwell, who's a good friend of mine.
Right.
But I don't think I'm talking smack to him the way that I was if John Randall's not out there. Like he's just the best. John Randall's like famous for like being like the offensive lineman used to go to the PR department and be like, can you please put no personal information about me in the media guide? Because John Randall studies it and goes after you.
Really?
You know what I mean? So like, I remember like Chris Gray was telling me a story. Chris Gray was an offensive lineman, right guard. And he's telling me a story. He's like, oh, John Randall. And he's like, we made a rule as an O-line. Like, no one talk to him. Don't say a word back. Like, if you shut up, he'll shut up. And so finally, he's talking smack. And he's like, oh, come on, Chris Gray. Come on. I'm going to kick your ass, And Chris Gray has a moment of weakness. And he's like, hey, man, I'm a Christian. I'd appreciate it if you don't swear. You can talk all your trash you want, but please don't swear. And John Randall, the rest of the game, oh, preacher boy. Oh, preacher boy. Preacher boy doesn't like me cussing. Oh, preacher boy. What do you think about this word, that word? Da, da, da. And like the whole rest of the game, it was like, oh, preacher boy. And every cuss word you could think,
right.
like, but he was creative with it and fun with it. And just literally one of the best teammates you've ever had, and a Hall of Fame player. I mean, unblockable to some.
I can only sneak this in here because I know any other time you're forced, you're trapped, you can't leave right now. I want to go back to years ago when you would have me clean your car all the time, and you had this Infinity. You had a maroon Infinity at the time.
I was told it was chocolate brown espresso.
Okay,
but it definitely looked purple, maroon, definitely.
Right. Well, anyways, and I want to look right at you guys in the camera. Listen, the car was always clean. Like the only thing that was movable was where Matt sat. Anything else, for some reason, I don't think the kids ever got in this car. Anyways, I would go to clean it. I would charge $50 during the time. That was how much I charged. But Matt, every time, bro, you constantly gave me $100 bill and you had me clean it every week, constantly. Now, did you give it to me? Tell the truth. Did you have me clean it because you needed it clean, or did you have me clean it because you want to help somebody out?
You know what? I didn't know your whole story at the time. I promise you I didn't. It's an amazing story. And I honestly feel like it's a God story. And I just happen to be like a vessel that like he worked through me in your life and eventually in my life. And now seeing your son, who's now wearing my dad's number with the Patriots, and my daughter did an interview when Ohio State was going through it after the Michigan loss and they go on to win the national championship. And I don't know that she's interviewing your son and she doesn't know the connection. And then it's crazy, man. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't really feel like I can take any credit, and that's like the beauty of it. But maybe a little bit. I think if I'm being like completely honest, I loved when the Seahawks would do things that other organizations weren't doing for their players. Because it is hard as a young person. You're usually really far from home. You don't know what's going on. You need all the help you can get. Mm-hmm. And so like Mo Kelly at the time,
yeah.
I didn't know. I just thought maybe you were a friend of Mo's. I have no idea. And I thought like, oh, this is like a really nice thing. And you did a great job.
Thank you.
Had you not done a great job, I don't know how I would have felt, but like you did a great job. Now, speaking about the car being clean, we had after the Hummer experience.
Okay.
I had an opportunity, I think it was 2005, to have a relationship with what was then Infinity of Kirkland, which turned into Infinity of Bellevue. This guy named Dave Hanna, awesome guy, took care of us. And my wife doesn't know a lot about cars, but she was like, I saw this car that I really love, and she wanted an Infinity. So anyway, we became like a very, very loyal Infinity family. And I think out of loyalty to Dave Hanna and Infinity of Bellevue, I just wanted to take care of their cars.
Sure.
And so like, I think it was like a little bit of pride in that, because I can promise you, we are not this great family that didn't have Cheerios and raisins and dirty car seats and whatever. Like, I bet you I cleaned the car a little before I had you, you know, as an embarrassment. But no, I think honestly, I just thought it was really a nice thing. Like, we'd come in the morning, it was dark.
Yeah.
You were already there.
Yeah.
And we'd go to work, and I'd come out, and it was like dusk. And you'd still be there, you know, and you did a lot of cars.
A lot of cars.
You did a lot of cars. And we had relationship with you, you know, maybe not in the morning because we were running late, but definitely in the afternoon.
Sure.
And it was years later, man, that that your career as an MC and media and all the stuff took off. And I was like, whoa, no way. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. It's a really cool. And I think it was one time where I heard your story for the first time. It might have been in like Tri-Cities or somewhere like that. It was somewhere not in Seattle, I think. And I heard your story, and I saw a picture of me and I think your two little boys.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. So I honestly don't think I deserve any real credit for it. But I do feel honored that like our stories have been woven the way that they have. It's cool.
You know, just to give you a reminder, so one of the first players' cars that I ever did was Norman Hand. You remember Norman Hand, big defensive lineman, played with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
He may rest in peace. He passed away in 2010, I believe. And then when it was time to clean your Hummer, when the guys saw me cleaning the quarterback's car, right, that kind of like, oh, okay. Then that's when I started to get more business. So I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, the relationship, like, I think like yesterday we thanked I did the thing at halftime and I talked about people. There's a group of people I didn't mention.
Sure.
And I struggled with this, but if any NFL player could talk, they would absolutely tell you this: the relationships you make while playing in the NFL, they're not just with people who wear helmet and shoulder pads. No way. And it's not just with coaches. Sure. You spend more time with like the support staff, athletic trainers, equipment managers, people who, you know, do things for you in this kind of, you know, like it's amazing. In Seattle, I've played on other teams. It's unique here. It's special here. And I don't know, I would put you in that category. There's a lot of guys that I played with that would put you on the Mount Rushmore, their favorite people that they ever were teammates with in Seattle.
22 years ago was the first time I cleaned your car. Last thing.
I got a car out there right now.
I'm about to say, I do this at the end of every show. And if you can look into, it's going to be this camera right here and talk directly to the 12s, to the city of Seattle. What would you want them to know? What is the one thing you want them to know, want them to remember about your time here, about your bond here, and just the whole relationship that you've had with this place?
It's tough because I know what I would always say.
Okay.
I think it might be two things. Like I think one thing I would say is that what I think is unique about the Seahawks team, I think first I'd want to just sort of brag about the Seahawks team that you root for. They're unbelievable in the community. I mean, they take as much pride in the work they do in the community as they do the work that they do on the field. And so I think that's something you can be proud of. The other thing I think is probably more obvious, but I hope it's obvious. The crowd noise is a factor. Like, it's not something that we just say. Like, it's absolutely a factor. And it's mostly a factor when the quarterback's in the huddle and then when he's at the line of scrimmage. Once the ball's snapped, like, it's not really that much of a factor. But when the quarterback's in the huddle and when the quarterback's at the line of scrimmage, you absolutely have had a hand in the success of this team. And I mentioned it yesterday. back when it was the Kingdom, the NFL made it a penalty when the 12s were too loud, and they got louder. And so the NFL said, it's a bad idea. We're encouraging them. But in 2005, we don't go to the Super Bowl if the New York Giants don't jump off sides 11 times. That was the 12s. That was you guys. That wasn't us. And then I really believe this in 2013, when the 12s went to New York and the center could not hear the Broncos quarterback, Peyton Manning, couldn't hear him in shotgun in a neutral site, and they snapped the ball over his head. That's what propelled us to hoisting that Lombardi back here in Seattle. So well done. Keep it up. It's a major, major thing that you do. And I think the team's going to need that for home field advantage going forward. I know we felt it. I think they're going to need it. So keep it up.
Last one. What do you want the Seahawk fans in 12s to think of Matt Hasselbeck 20, 40, 50 years from now?
I hope they know I gave it everything I had. Like, I was willing to sacrifice everything on the field. There's a play that happened in Arizona in kind of a game that, not a famous game, not a game with the name or anything. There was a fumble way downfield. And I just remember sprinting as hard as I could for that ball and diving in there, like knowing, like, I might not come out of this. Like, this might be the last play that I ever play, and like sprinting for the ball and diving in there and being like, am I cool with that? And I just remember, like, in a split second, I was like, yeah, because I want to be the kind of player that gives it everything he has, every play, with no regrets. And I remember diving in there for that fumble, and I think we got it. And I'm not even sure if we won the game. I think we did. But I remember flying home from that game being like, that's the kind of player I want to be.
Sure.
That's the kind of teammate I want to be. That's the kind of quarterback I want to be.
Well, I just want to say, man, your parents have an amazing son. I want to give a quick shout out to your mom by calling you Matthew.
She would appreciate that. Very much so. Very much so.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, G.
Yes,
Say the man.
Yep.